Alright, well, this is episode 9 of mental health, and this is the one. It might come in 2 parts actually, this one. We'll see, because I might bang on for a little bit. I might not, I might get it done quick, but we'll see. This episode is called The Internet. Whether it's in 1 part or 2, it's all about the internet. Now, the internet, I've called it that because that's been my political home, if you like, for the last decade. Fucking 10 years, man. 10 years. In previous episodes, I talked about how, you know, I was very active as a revolutionary and then as an independent for 10, 12 years, whatever it was. But my activities came to an end in 2015. The last thing I did was the election campaign. I wish this phone would sit still. It's fucking annoying. The election campaign, general election and local election in 2015. Obviously Corbyn became the leader of the Labour Party after that. So the party I was in, or the organisation I was standing elections for, became obsolete really once Corbyn was the leader of the Labour Party. Because the left got behind Corbyn, and the argument for an alternative to Labour was on the back burner. So yeah, message on my screen, I cannot see it. Yeah. So, but as I said before, did I say in the last video or the one before, I wasn't allowed to join the Labour Party because I'd stood against them in elections previously, so I was banned from the Labour Party. So I had to support Corbyn from outside the Labour Party, and there was no outside for me. There was no group to be part of. You know, me revolutionary days were behind us. Sorry, I've still got this fucking snotty, sniffly, horrible ear fever, stroke, cold carry on. So if I'm sniffing a bit, bear with us. Yeah, everything was in the past. There was nothing for me to do other than support Corbyn from outside the Labour Party. I went to the rallies, I went to the Miners' Gala to hear him speak, but there was nothing for me to do. So I kind of retreated to the internet, and that was hard, you know. That was fucking hard, because I'd never been a fan of the internet. Facebook for me was always just a political tool to be used to boost campaigns. It was never, you know, I didn't post photographs. I certainly didn't post, you know, what I was having for me tea and shit like that. But the further I got away from activism as time went on, you know, 2015 onwards, the more I struggled mentally. And do you know what? I could have easily become a fucking alcoholic or something to help us cope with that, because it was fucking tough, man. The shit that I'd been doing for all them years, what meant so much to us, that was such a core part of my being, wasn't there anymore, and I fucking struggled. I struggled mentally. And if I hadn't have got back into training, I think I would have fucking fell apart. I think I would have fucking fell apart mentally. It was only getting back into training, which was in 2016, that gave us something to focus on, something, you know, where I could actually achieve stuff. And I knew it wasn't the same, and I knew it wasn't a replacement, but it was, you know, a distraction. It was at least something. I was improving myself physically, and I did. I'd not exercised throughout my whole political activist phase, and that was a long time. So I was overweight, I was unfit, and I corrected all that. I lost 4 stone in a year, and I got fit as fuck. Not with weights initially, although I did some weights. I did mainly cardio. Cardio was my thing, the exercise bike, plus a little bit of light weights, you know, some push-ups and stuff like that. And I transformed myself in a year. And the year after that, I got into heavy training again, deadlifts and bench press and all that, you know. But if it wasn't for that training, I probably would have fell apart. So the training become me focus, kept my mind off the fact that there was a massive void in my life without activism. But then obviously training, one thing led to another. I got some injuries. I was up and down with my weight. I was, you know, I tried to keep going forward, but I kept getting knocked back because I've got weaknesses because of my cancer and because I had Perthes as a child. And obviously I'm in my 50s, so I've got structural stuff going on, and I can get injured with heavy training, and I have been injured, and quite a few times since I got back into it. And when I was injured, that's when it would hit us, you know. Fucking hell, I can't even train now. I can't even train. So what am I gonna do? So I was filling my life with other stuff. Music started coming back into my life. Television, lots of telly, films, drama series, all sorts. I started drinking more. And the internet was central, really, because that was where I could still be political. All the other stuff was escapism to keep us from getting depressed. But the internet was where I could still be political. And I did that for 10 years, but I didn't do it productively, let's say. Instead of being productive, because I wasn't part of a group, I wasn't part of any campaigns, instead I'd hone in on characters or groups of people who were just, there was one group, I'll not name it, but it was just a bunch of people from Sunderland who were all mates, who kind of knew each other, and I got involved in that. But I started raising left-wing ideas, and I clashed with everybody, even though some of them were quite left-wing. I was still clashing with them because I was being too fucking Marxist about it, and I was getting in all kinds of arguments, and that ended up with someone threatening to set fire to my car. Fucking hell, man. I should have learnt my lesson there, but as someone in that group, actually, someone pointed out, it's probably a form of self-harming that I was doing on the internet, just deliberately getting into conflicts with people, punishing myself, you know. I wasn't cutting my arms or anything, I was punishing myself on the internet, causing people to dislike us and making myself stressed and anxious, and you know, it was awful, but I couldn't help it. I was addicted. Something in us, I suppose self-harmers get addicted to the whatever they're doing. In some way it makes them feel better while at the same time hurting them. It's a weird thing, isn't it? And that's what I think I was doing on the internet. I think this person who suggested that that's what it was correct. That's what it was. And it went on for years. I'd go from one target to another, one group or one character to another. It started on Facebook, but it went over onto YouTube eventually. So I was picking battles on YouTube as well. Fuck me, the battle started with Danny G during lockdown. Was it lockdown or thereabouts? Maybe it's just after lockdown, I can't remember. But it went on for fucking ages. Danny G, guy from Birmingham, started out, you know, quite friendly enough, but then disagreeing, and then really badly disagreeing, and it went on and on. He made videos about me, I made videos about him. I never ever got personal, you know. I always kept it political, always. Never got personal. Never talked about his family or, you know, his physicalities or out like that. I wasn't interested in that. I always wanted to keep it political. But inevitably, you know, because I was so knowledgeable and experienced, I would easily win the arguments, and Danny G would get personal. In fact, he ended up threatening us with violence in the end. And I drove him further to the right, I think. I didn't win him to the left. I think I drove him further to the right. So I totally failed. And I knew I was failing throughout. I knew it wasn't going anywhere, but I couldn't help myself. Self-harming again. I couldn't help it. I was just hooked on it. And I kept going, I kept pushing his buttons, and he kept pushing my buttons back, and it was this just tit for tat. And it went on for fucking ages. And sometimes we'd make up and we'd chat again, and then we'd fall out again, and it just went round and round and round. And in the end, he started supporting Tommy Robinson, and that was me finished with him. I couldn't be on with him after that. Once someone starts supporting fascism, nah, that's me. That's me done with them. I didn't even bother after that. They're not even worth the, you know, the self-harming kick anymore. And I'm not saying Danny G became a fascist. He just started like posting some support for Tommy Robinson, which I didn't like. But I knew I had to stop it anyway because it was getting out of control. I was winding Danny up too much, and Danny G's, by all accounts, a dangerous man, you know. So there was always the threat that he could come to Sunderland and fucking do something really bad to me or my family or whatever. So yeah, that had to end, and I did end it, but I moved on to other targets. I didn't stop the self-harm. I kept going. I just moved the targets. I found other targets. I found other people to disagree with. And you know what? It was always people that I liked. It's quite fucking weird when you think about it, because it was people that I liked. I never did it to people I hated. I did it to people I liked. I suppose I was I was genuinely trying to win them to the left or further to the left. But I was totally failing and driving them further to the right, and I could see that, but I still didn't stop. I just kept on and on. And yeah, so Danny G, the group on Facebook, another group on Facebook which I'll not mention, I had a tangle with a guy who probably drove him further to the right as well, and you know, it was messy. It was messy. And then ultimately I found Blot, and although I didn't intend getting into a ding dong with Blot, it did happen, and once it happened, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I'm going to explain that in the next video, because that is the final battle. That's the last episode in the series, the final battle, and in that I'm going to talk about blots specifically and nothing else really, because that is the end for me, and I'll tell you all about it in that episode. So this is probably going to be the end of the internet episode. I'm not going to do 2 parts, just going to leave it at that. The internet replaced activism. I tried to replace activism with the internet, and it just didn't fucking work. I became a mess of contradictions. It was just too easy to punish myself and get myself in trouble, and but at the same time I couldn't pull myself away from it. It was giving us something to do, you know, because I was so fucking bored and miserable, and so, you know, I say miserable, I wasn't miserable. I'd lost my central purpose, but I was doing other things. While I was escaping, I was happy. You know, all the escapism, doing stuff for my family, holidays, trips away, all the telly I watched, all the music I was listening to, bands I was going to see again, and all this escapism, more and more and more escapism, less and less serious political analysis, and more escapism. That's what's happened over the last 10 years for me, and it's kept us from being depressed, because I think losing that central purpose, if I hadn't filled my life with escapism, and if I hadn't used the internet, I don't think I would have been in a very good way, like, because when you lose your central purpose, it's like, I don't know, what can I compare it to? In some ways it's worse than losing your parents. I think you can, especially if your parents are elderly, you can get past that, but losing your central purpose in life, something that's become you completely, and that's taken away, you lose that, and you have to somehow fill this massive gap. It's impossible to fill it. It's just impossible, and I never have managed to do it, even though I've got me training goals, and I've got loads of escapism, and I've had these internet battles. None of it comes close to the fulfillment I had when I was a revolutionary socialist in a revolutionary socialist party. It's been a struggle, man. It really has. It's been a struggle. And all this self-harming shit on the internet, it's going to stop. It has to stop, because it's gone too far. It's got to the point where, I mean, it was one thing being threatened by Danny G, who lives in Birmingham, but getting threatened by people, handy people, hard people, who live in Sunderland, where I live, that's another matter. That's another matter. I cannot be on with that, man. I cannot be on with that. I shouldn't be upsetting people at all, anybody, but I especially shouldn't be upsetting people who could fucking hurt me and my family, you know what I mean? Nazis comes with the territory. You upset Nazis and you expect some kind of, you know, reaction, but these people are not Nazis. These are just decent people who are not left-wing, particularly left-wing, you know. They're just ordinary working class people who have tried to drag further to the left and failed and ended up really pissing them off, you know. And all I can do is apologise and explain why I think I've ended up in this position and why I've ended up doing this sort of thing. I feel like I'm in a confession box. But or a therapy room, you know what I mean? But it's making us understand it better to see it all out loud, and to record it and put it out there on the internet, because I want people to know that what was driving me wasn't really me. That's not me, and it's not going to be me anymore, and I mean that. I'm going to do better, and I'm going to do something more productive than fucking piss people off on the internet. It has to stop, man. It has to stop. Like this video, it has to stop, because I've gone on too long. I'll see you in the next one, the final battle. Ta-ra for now.